Have you ever wondered how a simple, random click on the internet can somehow turn into a loyal, paying customer? Well, today we're going to pull back that curtain. We're diving deep into the world of digital marketing to uncover the one thing that truly powers it all: your content. So let's jump right in. All right, here's our game plan. We're going to start with the big picture, the why behind the massive shift to digital. Then we'll get a little nerdy and look at how search engines actually work. From there, it's all about content. We'll dive into the driving force itself, I'll give you a practical blueprint to follow, and then we'll wrap up by showing you how to make it all matter. So first up, let's talk about the digital marketing shift. And really, this isn't just a small change. It's a fundamental move away from the old days of shouting at people with a bullhorn, hoping someone listens, and moving into an era of having actual, meaningful conversations with them. So you gotta ask yourself, why the big move? What was so wrong with the old way of doing things that made everyone jump ship to the digital world? And boom, this slide really lays it all out, doesn't it? Traditional marketing, like newspaper ads or billboards, was a total one-way street. You'd shout your message out there and crickets. It was super expensive, you had no idea if it was working, and you were stuck with a local audience. But digital? It's a two-way conversation. You can reach people across the globe, measure exactly what's working and what's not, and honestly, it's just way more cost-effective. So here's the real magic. Going digital isn't just for the giant corporations anymore. It completely levels the playing field. It means anyone, and I mean anyone, can find and target their perfect audience, see the data on what's actually working, and build real, lasting trust with their customers. It is an absolute game changer. Okay, so having a website or a social media page is step one. That's great. But how in the world do you get found in this gigantic, ever-expanding sea of information we call the internet? Well, that brings us to the engine that runs it all: search engines. I mean, really think about it for a second. You could build the most beautiful, most helpful website in the world, but if nobody can find it, does it even really exist? This is the exact problem that search engines were built to solve. And the key to unlocking all of that visibility is something called search engine optimization, or what you've probably heard of as SEO. The easiest way to think about it is this: SEO is just the set of rules you follow to make sure search engines like Google can see your website, understand what it's about, and recognize that it's valuable. Now, this process might sound super technical, but it's actually pretty simple when you break it down. First, little programs called bots or crawlers are constantly scurrying around the web discovering new pages. Then, they index all that content, kind of like a librarian who's creating a massive catalog for every book in a library. And finally, when you type something into that search bar, the engine ranks all those pages to give you what it thinks is the most helpful answer. What's really cool is seeing how these three types of SEO all work together like a team. You've got on-page SEO, which is all the stuff you control on your own website. Then there's off-page SEO, which is basically your reputation out there on the rest of the web. And holding it all together is technical SEO. That's the solid foundation that makes your site fast, secure, and easy for search engines to understand. You need all three. And that right there brings us to the absolute heart of our conversation today. If SEO is the powerful engine that gets you noticed, then content is the high-octane fuel that makes that engine roar. So let's connect those dots we were just talking about. We know search engines crawl, they index, and they rank. But what are they actually looking at when they do all that? This, right here. It's your content. It's the words on the page, the videos, the images, the guides, all of it. The entire system, this whole massive internet library, is designed to find and serve up the best, most relevant content for any given search. Let me put it another way. Without content, you are completely invisible online. And that is precisely why content development is so incredibly important. Now pay close attention to that key word here: strategic. This is not about just randomly writing a blog post when you feel like it. No way. It's a deliberate, thoughtful process designed from the ground up to create useful information that serves a very specific purpose for a very specific audience. Okay, so if it's a strategic process, what does that process actually look like? Let's roll up our sleeves and get into the really actionable stuff. Let's look at the blueprint for how you actually create great content. And here it is. This 7-step blueprint is your roadmap to success. Now, honestly, the first 2 steps, strategy and research, are where most people go wrong. They get excited and they jump right into creating stuff without a plan. That is a huge mistake. Once you have that plan, then you can move into the fun part: creation, editing, and publishing. But listen, it does not stop there.
The final and arguably most important steps are promotion and tracking, because making amazing content is totally pointless if no one ever sees it, and you will never, ever get better if you don't measure what's working.
All right, for our last section, let's zoom back out and connect this blueprint to the bigger picture. We've got the how, but let's really lock in the why. Why should you go through all this effort in the first place? When it comes down to it, this is what it's all for. Great content makes you the trusted authority in your space. It's the fuel for your SEO, making you visible. But more than anything, it engages and informs people by solving their actual problems. When you do that, you naturally hit your business goals, and you create assets that keep bringing in value for months and even years after you hit that publish button.
So let's bring it all home. Content development isn't just another box to check on your marketing to-do list. It is the very foundation of your entire digital presence. It's how you connect, how you build trust, and how you grow. You now have the blueprint. The only question left is, what are you going to build?